Sometimes I was like, oh my God, I'm such a bad client because I'll therapize myself through the session. And they're just like, yeah, I was going to say that, but you already got there. And I'm like, yeah.
Here's your money. Hello and welcome to Cleopatra. I'm Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly, and today we have a very special guest, the one and only Mitra Karimi-Taleghani. And she is our first non-comic, and she's actually a psychotherapist.
Yay!
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Mitra. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah.
Me too. Nervous and excited.
Why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about you, your background, and your first generation experience?
I come from a Black and Persian household. My dad was born in a small village in northern Iran. He was born and raised there. And my mom grew up in South Central LA, born and raised in South Central LA. My dad's one of 10. My mom's one of 15. So I have a huge, extended, beautiful, multicultural family.
Wow. Lots of listeners for us.
Yeah. They met in college in Santa Barbara, and they were neighbors, and they became really, really good friends. And then they had like a cute little love affair. They dated, and then they like parted ways. Life stuff happened, lost touch for like a few years, I think. And then my dad said he like searched for her, and they reunited, and now I'm here.
And he found her before the age of social media, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's some real sleuthing. That's a real commitment.
Yeah, he was determined. Persian men are very romantic and determined, I guess. My parents are both like intellectual, so I think they really vibed on that. They're both retired now, but my dad was a nuclear engineer, and then my mom was a professor of African history. So the bar was really high, like for us. It was really emphasized, like education is very important. Specifically, my mom was like, yeah, no one can take that away from you.
So far, the one thing I feel like that's tied all our guests together is the education component.
That's a good point.
It's so funny because people treat immigrants, you know, how they speak slowly to them and treat them like they're less than. And then they're all so remarkably educated and committed to education. My parents always said when we were growing up that the two things you can never skimp on were healthcare and education. And I carry that with me.
And
also,
she added a third, which is wine.
yeah, good wine.
That's very true.
Yeah. After they met, obviously, they had you. What was your growing up experience like?
In my family, obviously, and their friends, it was like super diverse, lots of different cultures, lots of different religions that I grew up around. In school, however, we were in private school because I think my mom just felt, because she did grow up pretty like poor and didn't get to go to private school, obviously. And in her mind, I think she was just like, private school is going to be a better education for my kids. So I was in private Catholic school from kindergarten to actually my senior year of high school.
Remind me, your family isn't Catholic.
No, I was definitely raised Muslim. I wouldn't say that our family's super religious. I feel like we're Muslim culturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I identify with that a lot.
Yeah. So I was in Catholic school, definitely dealt with a lot of bullying. There was not that many students of color, specifically in actually the kindergarten to 8th grade, because that was one school. There was very few of us, definitely not anyone with the same mix as me. So I always just felt really like isolated. And there was a lot of bullying, a lot of racism. Also, it was a thing of like whose parents made more money. So it was like a lot of class stuff and race stuff that happened. And so that was tough, honestly. It was really hard.
Are the teachers nuns? Is this real? Am I making this up? At a Catholic school?
You know, there were more nuns at my high school than at the kindergarten to 8th grade situation.
I'm just curious, were they sympathetic to your plight? Did they recognize?
The teachers?
Yeah.
Hell no. And I still remember every one of you.
Heavens no.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Absolutely
great.
not. They definitely witnessed a lot of the bullying and I feel like they had their own prejudices and, you know, especially like after 9/11, oh, the bullying was just way worse. Oof. Yeah, no, teachers didn't do anything at all. Actually, the high school is not as bad. It was a little more diverse, the area that it was in, and it was an all-girl Catholic high school, so it had other
I didn't realize
issues.
I also went to an all-girls Catholic high school.
Oh, okay.
And there were some nuns, but there were more nuns in my K through 8.
Oh, really?
Catholic, yeah.
I'm like, I don't remember there being a lot of nuns in my K through 8, but we definitely had mass like regularly, and there was definitely a priest or more than one priest.
What did you do during mass? Did you just kind of like roll your eyes and check out, or did you like smoke a cigarette in the back slowly?
Oh, in high school, you mean? I mean, well, I would like rebel in my ways where I wouldn't wear my skirt on mass day, and then I'd get Saturday detention. I just like always had Saturday detention.
No.
So they weren't gonna like kick you out of the school because your parents are paying.
Well, it's
for
also like a uniform infraction is not the same.
Yeah.
Did you guys have no smoking in your uniform? I know that girls would get, if they were outside off of campus but in their school uniform and smoking, you could get detention for conduct outside of school.
Honestly, I don't even think anyone was really trying to do anything spicy like that. I feel like so I don't think we had any rules like that, but they did. So when I didn't wear my skirt, they did have some skirts up in the attic that were like ancient and super
ankle
long.
length. Yeah, of course.
And like I would have to wear that and smelled like mothballs or something, and I'd have to wear those, and that was the whole
punishment.
Thing. I was actually thinking about how all of us used to roll up our skirts, and I'm like, why did we do that? I think just to be like, I can have a short skirt if I want, but we also always wore shorts underneath.
Right. Yeah.
Like that was the thing.
Yeah, we wore boxers.
Yeah,
underneath.
We totally wore boxers.
Boys'
underneath.
boxers. That was
Okay,
like
so
a thing.
This
is a universal thing.
A Catholic schoolgirl thing.
Yeah.
This was also kind of like a field hockey thing. Did you ever play field hockey growing up?
Absolutely not even a little bit.
Neither did I. I don't know what you're talking about.
Field hockey.
No? No one else? Okay.
No, I was the least athletic person.
Listen, I was trying so hard to fit in.
That's
Just
okay.
give me field hockey.
It was like Lady Bird. Have you seen Lady Bird? It was like that, except no boys at the school.
I tried to be a little bit sporty because my mom was like, thought it would be well-rounded for me to like do a sport. So I think I ran track and like cross country. I hate running.
Me too.
But I did run track and cross country, and I did like the long distance running. That was like my thing, probably because I wasn't fast enough to do like
well, because as a Middle Eastern person, our greatest strength is enduring.
I know. We're resilient.
I would sooner run for office than run a marathon. I fucking hate running as well, so I feel you. I want to know, after high school, like, where'd you go to college, and when did you realize that psychotherapy was your path?
I went to UCLA. Well, I went to a community college, did 2 years, and then transferred to UCLA. And I did gender studies with a minor in education, actually. I had started like volunteering and interning in like social work spaces. And also, you know, I've dealt with depression and anxiety, and I have my own trauma. So I think in a way I was like seeking to understand myself more. And also I have a lot of loved ones who deal with depression and anxiety. And so I think it just was I just naturally went in that direction. So even though like undergrad wasn't me focusing on that, I was still interning and like doing the work, even though I wasn't like specifically studying it at that time. And then I went on to get a master's in social work in a really small university in Virginia. And that's a whole story. But
I mean, do we want to talk about Virginia?
I mean, let's do it.
I really wanted a change of scenery, and I was feeling really down living in LA. And I don't know, I was like, I want to be around nature. Like I felt like I needed that and that it would be healing for me. So the person I was dating at the time was from this rural area in Virginia, and they had like shown me pictures, and I was like, oh yeah, that's beautiful. I want to live in the middle of the forest. Like, let's go. It was beautiful. I lived on like, I want to say it was 15 acres of national forest.
Wow.
So, and
that
it was
divine.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I loved waking up and just like seeing just trees and like little deer, and it was beautiful.
Sounds like a Disney movie.
Yeah, and then I went into the town. I used to
with your basket, just cue the Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Just, bonjour, bonjour.
There was 2 gas stations, I think. And so I would go to like the same one on my way to work and school, whatever, because it was like on my way. And I would see the same group of old men standing outside. And I would always be like all bubbly, like, oh, good morning. And they were just like,
wow.
And I was like, okay. And I did that. I was like, all right, we're doing this. We're doing our routine every morning. Yeah. I say, good morning. And then they say
Here
nothing.
goes the baker with his tray like always. And they're just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It was definitely culture shock for me. I think I didn't really think it through. It was a little bit of an impulsive decision. I was just like, I need to get out of here. I want to be in nature.
Impulse grad school is a new one. I've never heard of. I just like on a whim decided.
At that point, I had been interning at a private practice and I had been doing social work and stuff already. So I knew already like, okay, I'm going to get my master's in social work. Like that was already, it was just about like where.
So you were in Virginia and then what prompted you to move back to California?
I graduated, got my master's, and then the tiny house that we had, well, I didn't build it, but there was a tiny house built that we were living in and it burned down like with all of like books, pictures, all of my stuff. And it was wild because it happened right after, I think we had just taken my parents to the airport because they had come for my graduation and the wood stove had been going because it was cold. It was sad, but I was kind of in shock because I was just like, I can't do anything about this. So I just like watched it burn down.
Wow.
And I had impulsively bought tickets to South Africa as like a treat for myself for like graduating from grad school and like surviving a completely different setting and having all this culture shock moving from LA to. So then like a day later after the tiny house burned down, we were like on the plane going to South Africa. And that was interesting because we were still trying to deal with that while we were.
Oh my God.
It was a whole thing.
But also maybe nice to step away from it for a second.
Yeah, and it actually really changed my relationship to material things. I just don't really feel too attached to anything material anymore after that. It was really surreal to just watch all your shit burn up. I'm not like a name brand girly or anything like that. It was actually sentimental things like photos and it was hard.
I'm so attached to material things. I know it's such a bad quality to have, but I just, quality. Whenever I hear something like that, the thought of the photos and the
photos and like little knickknacks. I love a knickknack so much. They call it kerekib.
My parents have a lot of kerekib in their house.
Mine too.
Yeah. A lot of gold kerekib.
In our blood. Everyone's house just looks like a flea market.
Also, I defend my hoarderism as as women are evolutionarily designed to be gatherers. So I am doing my evolutionary
it's your
duty.
Nest.
Yes.
So I have a question. I know that you do a lot of psychotherapy and trauma related, but you also deal a lot with sexuality in your practice. Yeah. And one of the things I'm really curious to hear about is what your experience was forging into that territory that is so taboo. I mean, at least in I think in general, it's safe to say Middle Eastern culture, you know, sexuality is not talked about widely and celebrated. It's, you know, it's very much something to be in the shadows or just whatever taboo. And so how did you feel like your culture or your parents or your upbringing intersected with that?
Great question.
You know, I'm like all adjusting. Yeah, sex was not talked about in my house. And if it was even...
And if I had it my way, I'd not be talking about this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No. And if it was even like mentioned, it was definitely like something that I should have no interest in. You know what I mean? Right. And so I don't think my parents were like intentionally trying to shame us or anything, but I just think they didn't feel comfortable with that topic. So... yeah, but obviously I was always curious, and I think because there was so much taboo around it, it made it more interesting to me. So yeah.
Did you get a sex talk growing up?
Hell no.
I didn't either, did you?
A sex talk? What?
I'm still on the wait list to get mine.
We'll talk to you after.
Okay. I'm thinking of just Googling it and getting it over with. I've just been waiting patiently.
Yeah, it was not a thing. But I did unfortunately feel like I had a lot of shame around my own like desires and just being a sexual person, but I'm a human. Obviously, it's a part of being human and it's a beautiful thing. And on top of just it not being talked about within the family, our sex education here is just like shit anyway. Like it's just not very good, and it's abstinence is what they're trying to teach. And I was in Catholic school. They were like, if you have sex, you will die. No.
It's not just you'll die. Then after you die, you'll go to hell.
Yeah.
So there's like long-lasting ramifications.
I was like, oh, I'm not Catholic. I'm safe. No, I'm just kidding. But I took one human sexuality class, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is it. And I just like dove in. And so a lot of my research has been human sexuality related in undergrad, grad school. It's just always been focused on human sexuality. I read so much stuff all the time. A lot of what I do is helping people overcome shame about their desires. And I also, lately I've been working with a lot of couples, a lot of poly, non-monogamous couples, and like couples that are just embarking on their like kink journey or kink BDSM journey. And just my intention is to create a safe container where they can feel like they can express themselves authentically and they're affirmed and not shamed. And also like I give them resources and, you know, psychoeducation where it's necessary. And I think it's really important to do that work, especially with like our communities, because there was no talk about it and there's no real comprehensive sex education. I think it's getting there, but there's still so much, like even on social media, like there will be a lot of sex educators who are providing really good information and resources, but they get shadow banned or whatever, or they get like their accounts deleted and stuff like that. And so it's just, there's still so much shame, and it leads to like repression and just people hating themselves or thinking they're so weird or fucked up, or it makes me sad hearing a lot of the stuff that comes up.
I feel like the literature and the research on polyamory and non-monogamy must be so recent. Is that true? Or do you think that I'm not saying that polyamory and non-monogamy are new. I'm just saying that it seems like it would be like a new part of the research that they don't teach you in school as part of your basic sexuality class, or am I wrong?
That's accurate. I mean, I don't know about like right now because it's been a while since I was in school.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I feel like people are more comfortable talking about it now, and more people are open about it. Like maybe they were already in that kind of structure, but they didn't feel comfortable talking about it. And to this day, some people still, like, their family members don't know, but that is the way that they're conducting their marriage or relationship structure in general. There is something I want to talk about polyamory and non-monogamy, because I don't know have you seen the language where it's like ethical?
Yes.
Or like consensual. And I'm like, babes, if it's not ethical or not consensual, then it's probably infidelity. But I think those words help people feel comfortable with the idea of non-monogamy and polyamory in general, because, you know, it's just like that. Those extra words are like, okay, it's like a good thing.
You were already imbuing whatever you're saying with a moral valence, which is just weird to me but I do not know anything about that world, and I also don't want to sound ignorant or judgmental. So
no, you don't sound judgmental.
I think it's wild the amount.
No, or
ignorant you do.
Or ignorant. No, I meant
she's a judgmental monogamist.
No, not at all. And there's just like different ways that you can structure a poly non-monogamous relationship. And like there's different language. Like some people just say they have an open marriage or there's different ways to do it. I really like the phrase kitchen table polyamory. And it's just this concept of like everyone kind of being friendly with each other, like additional partners. If there's like a primary partnership, they're all really amicable with one another.
Is it because they're all at the kitchen table together? Is that the metaphor?
I think like that's probably why it's called kitchen table.
I'm imagining fondue is a big part of it.
I was thinking
there's a shag carpet,
lemonade, baba ganoush, pita, eating with your hands,
feeding each other.
Yeah, exactly. So many of my friends have come out as non-monogamous in recent years, and they are just living their best lives, and it's so beautiful to watch and to see like new ways of being. Like, why are we so tied down to it? Things have to be a certain way. I think it's just been really amazing to just see the development.
Yeah, I agree. And there is a lot of conversation about it being more about just relationship, just love being more expansive, and friendships being just as important as romance, or even having like platonic romance with friends in a way. I think love as an expansive, not like a limited resource. I don't know. Limited resource sounds like a weird way of saying it.
How was coming out to your parents as this is a specialty that you work on, or do they even know?
No, they do know.
Okay.
They do know. And actually, I think because they're both intellectuals, they're like, fascinating. You know,
you're like mother, father, professors, please have a seat.
I shared with them, I think like early on, because I would share some of my research topics that I was working on when I was in school, or just, and, you know, sometimes they ask about my work and I'll share with them. I think they're still kind of like, okay, you know, there's some things that they're still like trying to wrap their brain. I mean, the kink thing, they're just like, what? You work with what? But polyamory and non-monogamy, it's been easier to kind of talk about that actually than kink, BDSM, the other sex-related things that I help or support people with. I was like, help them through.
with. Facilitate. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Part of your practice is it's working with BIPOC clients is something that's really important to you.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about like how you find clients and
now
referrals.
It seems like it's a lot of referrals. So, and that's such a huge compliment. And I feel like the best way, especially if it's from like a past client or just someone that knows how you practice, that person kind of already knows a little bit about you and your style, and so it's more likely that it could be a good fit, you know?
How do you know, is it like a gut feeling whether somebody's a good fit, or is it, I imagine that it's like a spectrum of like, there are some people who are very direct about like, this is what I need, this is what I would like, and then there's some people who are like, I don't know, or they're not able to articulate what they need out of a therapist.
Sometimes I can tell just by how they email me, honestly. And I'm like, or the things that they focus on. I'm like,
shoot.
okay,
Do you mean I shouldn't send an intro email with what the fuck is up?
No, it's
you
just,
up?
It's hard to put into words, but it's just something about, and sometimes I'll be like, oh no, I'm like overthinking it, and I'll go ahead and do the consultation, and then I'll be like, yeah, this is not a good fit, you know? But yeah, most of the time it's like, depending on what kind of support they're seeking, like I'll be able to know like if I'm the right fit for them, if I can support them. But sometimes I'll think that, and then we'll have a couple of sessions and it's like, obviously not. And it's more of a personality mismatch, you know, because I think the most important thing about just like good therapy, I feel like, is the relationship that you can build with your client. Like if you can actually like vibe with each other and connect, I think that's really important. Yeah. Because people are like telling you things that they haven't told anyone, that they, you know, like deep, like really deep,
just sensitive subjects
that they don't share with others. And it's important that they feel like they can trust you and that you build rapport. Sometimes it'll take a couple of sessions and then you realize like, okay, maybe this is not a good fit. It's really hard to have that conversation, but sometimes I luckily have experienced that we're both kind of feeling like, okay, maybe it's not a good fit. And then they'll say it and I'm like, yeah, okay, good. But it's something that a lot of therapists are like, how the fuck do you like say that?
Right. It's also hard to ask for what you want from a therapist too. Like I had a therapist for many years who was wonderful, but I felt like, this is gonna sound weird and it's also gonna warrant additional therapy, but I felt like she was too nice. She was like too nice to me. Like I wanted to say something and I wanted her to be like, do you really think that's true? Or like, I wanted her to push back on me more.
Yeah.
And she just validated every stupid fucking thought I had. And I wanted her to be like, that's bullshit. And basically, I like wanted her to be mean to me so that I could be nicer to myself. No one's going to tell me the truth. I have to be mean to me now and tell myself the truth.
So you wanted her to like challenge you.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I'm being mean is not the right. You know what I mean?
like,
I wanted her to push back and like be like, that's bullshit.
I will say I understand that because as your friend, one thing I've noticed that I find very that I really like about you is that if you are on your bullshit and I call you out on it, you immediately go, yeah, you're right. And so many people don't do that. They get so defensive. And I always admire that about you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, it's really a powerful quality.
That is admirable. Yeah.
So sometimes I just felt like I was having to play, both sides of the tennis match where I'd hit the ball and then run across the net and then hit the ball back over. And then she'd be like, wow, this is great. Like,
and I am aware that some people find it hard to ask for what they want. So I try to ask questions early on so I can get an idea of how they want me to show up.
I really respect that you do have so much empathy and you are able. It is such a skill to create space for people. So many people don't know how to fucking do it.
Yeah, that's very real. And I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's
This has been Cleopatra. Thank you so much.
On that note, I'd love to talk about like how you take care of yourself, given just I imagine the sheer amount of emotional weight you carry each day.
She's like, I do not. Next question.
I'm like, next. No, I'm just kidding. I find myself, if I don't intentionally move my body every day, I just feel so like it's like all up in my shoulder. It's like I'm just like walking around like this, it's I've also gone to therapy. I went to therapy for a really long time. Right now I'm like in between therapists.
Yeah.
I'm very picky about,
as you should be,
who I go to.
How could you not be?
Yeah.
You can see through their bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like a doctor going to another doctor.
I have a friend who was a yoga teacher and she could not release during yoga because she was like, oh, what flow are they doing and how are they doing this?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I was like, oh my God, I'm such a bad client because I'll therapize myself through the session and they're just like, yeah, I was going to say that, but you already got there. And I'm like, yeah.
Here's your money.
Yeah, but I have all these tools. I'm not always able to utilize them. Like sometimes I feel really affected by the work and it's not like my client's fault or anything like that. I definitely don't want it to come across like that. It's just, I do care a lot and I was actually talking to another therapist about this. She was like, yeah, I did all the shit, all the fucking tools, all the visualizations, meditations, all the things. And it was still super hard to not take on some of the pain,
right.
That
it's
you
impossible.
witness. If you're a fucking human with empathy, it's impossible to not sometimes.
If it's water off a duck's back all the time, then you're not a good therapist, probably.
I didn't say it, but
I did.
Are you able to shut it off at night, or do you feel yourself spiraling at the end of a long day? Just
to tell the truth, sometimes I'll spiral, and it's more like I hope I supported that person in the right way, or just like really sitting with something that I heard. I don't want to get emotional on this. Sitting with something that I heard and just being like, oh my gosh, like that's so painful, and just it's so sad that people have to go through certain things. And obviously, like I shared, I've gone through things myself. And so sometimes it's really hard. And sometimes I do spiral, like hoping that I supported the person in the right way, or that's really what the spirals end up being. And sometimes I can be like, okay, like feel good about the day, felt great, feel like I,
healed the world, solved it,
did a good job. And I can like take off my therapist hat and just like be Mitra. It's funny, sometimes my partner, well, you guys know, he'll be like, clock out. He's like, clock out already. It's like a little joke off, though. Babe. It's not like in a mean way. It's like very playful.
And I hope when he does a joke, you tell him to clock out.
Yeah, stop being so charming, Dylan.
No, but I think I'm going to start.
Just give him the light.
Just shine my like phone light in his face. Like 1 minute. Or I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, that's your 1 minute light. You need to shut the fuck up. Yeah, you get 1 minute.
I love how I still don't know anything about like 10 minutes.
If you want to be real cute after he does it a little bit, just be like, hey, babe, you want the light at 1 or 2 minutes? Yeah. So now we are going into our question and answer portion. I will ask the first question. Cleopatra viewed herself as a living goddess. When was a time you felt goddess-like or supernatural? Or can you tell us about any weird or useless talents you have?
Oh, yeah. I can do this thing with my tongue where it like looks like a clover. Hold on. Wait, I need some water. I need some water for this trick.
I need a cherry stem and a vodka tonic. And I'm going to make it disappear.
Honestly, I think, well, wait, don't quote me on this, but I think only 17% of the population can do it. I don't know.
Oh, there it is.
All right.
A beautiful flower.
So that's
can your
useless,
siblings pull that off? Is that genetic?
It is. My mom can do it, and my younger sibling can. I don't know if my older sister can. I'm going to ask her.
Can you wiggle your ears?
No.
Can anyone do that?
I can do it.
How do you do that?
Christy is wiggling her ears.
I mean, you can't now.
We all have.
We don't have the technology to do it.
I'm like, we all have like curly hair that's covering our ears.
I've been wiggling my ears this whole time, and you just didn't notice because my hair is here. That's fun. It's been doing my ear kegels. Yeah. Very important.
Oh my God.
Your ears are so fit.
Going back to the sex therapy topic. No.
Okay. Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian, but she embraced a lot of Egyptian customs. What is a super American custom you've adopted, or alternatively, something from your own culture that you can't let go of?
In Persian culture, there's something called taarofing.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
Love a taaroof.
You know this?
Oh,
I don't know what this
you know
is.
this?
No.
I'm like, you know of this? You know of this?
I know of this.
And
explain what taaroof is to the people at home.
Okay, so I literally had the longest conversation with my dad trying to figure out how to translate like what it actually is. And I think it's best explained in like examples. Say there's like 4 of your uncles, they went to dinner, and then the check comes. All of them are going to be fighting for that check. Like it'll be the drama is real. Like they'll be grabbing credit cards from each other. All this
and then it'll get like actually hostile.
Yeah. And meanwhile, one of them was probably like, I know this is the shit we're going to go through. I'm going to like take the credit card right before. Actually, my dad told me a story of like where one of it was either his cousin or his friend, I can't remember now, but like had gone and like paid right before, it was like, here's my credit card before they even sat down.
Oldest trick in the Middle Eastern book is getting up to go to the bathroom and giving the card so that you already paid, and then everyone gets mad. But yeah, taaroof is the obnoxious, invasive, competitive generosity of Middle Eastern people.
Well, I like to think of it as like just ultra politeness. This like ultra politeness.
Yeah.
Well, specifically in Persian culture, it's like being super kind of overextending yourself in a way. Like if someone comes in your house and is like, oh my God, you have a beautiful house. And then you're like, it's yours.
Right.
You obviously do not want to give this person your house.
Or you have to be careful on who to compliment, because if you say nice ring, they're like, here, have my ring. It's, you don't want to be like.
Absolutely. They will take the shirt off of them. If you're like, oh my God, I love that shirt. Okay, it's yours. And they'll like strip and give you their shirt. It's funny because I actually looked it up. Like I was like, how do people explain taaroof? There was like something on there that was like, make sure you at least go back and forth 3 times.
Yeah.
There's like a tactic for it. There's a rule book.
It looked like it according to the interwebs. And I think I have witnessed that happen. It's like, no. Okay. Or yeah. But
I will say I'm very familiar with this practice.
You are.
I just didn't know there was a name for it.
Because there's also not like a word to translate it to, I don't think, in English.
I don't think it's a behavior in Western
right.
culture.
Whatever
Ultra
America's
polite.
whatever the opposite of Taarof is, which is like cutthroat, taking everything at everyone else's expense.
My dad said something funny, like, yeah, here in America, like, if you like offer something, people, he's like, all they'll say is like, you sure? And then they take it. And I don't know why that was so funny to me, but I was like, you know what? That is accurate.
At the end of this podcast, when you're like, thank you, I've had so much fun, me and Christy are going to be like, you can have this podcast. This is your podcast now.
It's yours. Take it. You have to do it now. It's take it and run with it. It's your baby. Don't drop this baby. Cleopatra was the queen of luxury. What's like a luxury you don't skimp on?
You know, what baby wants, baby gets. I do have to say, like, when I really want something, I give myself that.
Abundance mindset.
Like I said, I'm not into like, you know, name brands and all that stuff. But if I think it's more like experiences, you know, like getting a massage or like, so I will definitely not even think to, I'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm paying whatever it is. Like, I'm going to treat myself. And I think actually that is part of how I take care of myself is I don't, like, if I really, really want something, then I'm like, you deserve it, babes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really
We
lovely.
all deserve it, babes.
Not me. No, just kidding. Cleopatra was a known seductress. Yes. What is your best meet cute or pickup line, either that you used or somebody used on you, even though you don't need any pickup lines?
Yeah, I definitely don't think I've ever used a pickup line. I do love the art of flirt, like just the art of seduction and flirting. I do love it, and I feel like I'm a natural flirt, a self-proclaimed natural flirt. And I think I just kind of do it with my eyes, you know? I don't feel like I say a thing. I feel like I'm just like, you know?
You should teach a class in that alone.
And I think it's like very specific to whoever you're flirting with. Like it's just a vibe, you know?
Don't you and your current partner have a cute like meetup story?
Yeah, I think
you don't have to tell it though.
It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. Oh my gosh, I did kind of use a pickup line because I felt like we were kind of like I was doing my eye thing. I felt like we were making eyes. And it was when I was working as a bartender, a wine woman. As my little side hustle, which was super fun. And I worked with some of my friends, so it was really fun. But he used to come in a lot, and he was always really sweet and polite, and he just seemed really interesting to me. And he was also one of the only people that didn't creepily flirt with me. And then I was like, but wait, why didn't he flirt with me at all? So I had been trying to like be like, oh, like lightly, and then I was like, okay, he's not getting it. And one time he came in, and like I knew I had seen him in there before, and I was like, do I know you from somewhere? And he was just like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, are you sure? Have we like met somewhere else? That was like I feel like that was a line.
That is fully a line. Do I know you from somewhere?
And I'm like, are you sure? Have we like met somewhere before? And he was like, I just got one of those faces, like totally oblivious.
That's so funny. He's like, nope, maybe you know me from here. Have a nice day, ma'am.
And then you did your tongue clover like 3 times.
You're like, this glass of wine's on me. He's like, thank you. Actually, I insist that I pay. And then he walked away politely. Glass of milk and straight to bed for Dylan.
He was really oblivious. And so I finally was just, and I think, you know, he was being, later when we like talked about it, he was just trying to be respectful because he was like, well, you were working. Like, so then I just had to like slide into his DMs and be like, hey, I think you're cute. We should hang out. He's like, I think you're cute too. And I'm like, let's hang out.
Yes.
And that was that. But I did try a line. I guess I did. And it didn't work.
Now it's time for a segment called Dig Deep. These are the 2 questions we ask every single guest. The first one is Elizabeth Taylor famously portrayed Cleopatra in the 1963 film. If your life were a crossover of 2 TV shows or films, what would they be and who would play you?
Ooh, this is so hard. And I have to say, there's like never been relatable or have you two felt? Well, okay, no, I'm going into like therapist mode. I'm like, oh, how do you two feel about this?
Don't turn this back on me.
I've never seen a relatable storyline or character, even when I've like actively sought it out. Even if it's like something culturally is relatable, it's like the personality is not. So this is a really difficult question.
Masters of Sex meets Insecure, and no,
I loved Insecure.
That's a good name
too.
Okay, wait. Okay, you know, Insecure was a good one.
Yeah,
so
that's a pretty complicated, relatable show.
that has to be like the most relatable show that has existed. Yeah, no, that Insecure I really like. I'm glad that you brought up Insecure because for some reason I didn't even think about that one. There also are a few actors that are Persian and Black. Yara Shahidi.
Yeah, Yara Shahidi. She's in Grownish and Blackish.
In England. Oh no, I forgot her name. But actually, I thought the one in England, like her vibe would definitely, I would want her to play me.
All right.
Sure. Cool. But what's her name?
We'll find it. You're out there. So one of them will play you. I love that. Okay, that's really cool.
I feel like biracial representation in media is also severely lacking.
It really is. There was something that Yara Shahidi was in recently where I thought it was so cool because her parents it was a Persian dad and her mom was Black in the movie. And it was the first time I had ever seen that.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I think it's...
And that's how her dad's Persian, her mom's
Yeah, and I think it was something like taking cakes to bars or something. I think that was the movie.
So cute.
But it was the first time ever, and honestly, I got a little emotional about it. I was like, oh my God, wow, actual representation does fucking matter, you know?
It really does. I'm so embarrassed that I saw this show. It was like a Bravo scripted original called Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce. And there was a Middle Eastern female lawyer who was a badass. And
she was Persian in it, too.
And I remember being like, and then being like, how basic am I that I'm like, it's me?
No, but that's so important. It's even more important for like younger people to see themselves.
Mind you, I was like 30 years old already. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, because we're barely fucking getting
That's
there.
how long it took to get that.
Like literally.
But I'm just shocked that like it's, you know, those like videos where they show the little girls that like, oh, the Little Mermaid's gonna be Black, and they show all these like beautiful little girls of color, like, oh my God. And I've like cried so many times looking at that super cut of all these little girls, and then like cut to just this like 30-something-year-old girl being like, that's a lawyer and she's brown and me. Like it's like so stupid.
I have
Middle Eastern.
to absolutely plug it in case you guys haven't watched it, but have you watched We Are Lady Parts?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
The band.
Yes.
The rock band.
It's about a Muslim, female rock band.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've heard of this.
Cried during pretty much the whole show just to see.
So great.
Yeah, that representation. So the ancient Egyptians would bring treasures with them into their sarcophagus. What would you bring with you? Or alternatively, or in addition to, what do you want your legacy to be?
You know, I don't know, that maybe this sounds cheesy, but I did always want to make a positive impact on the world. Like when I'm gone, I wanted people to think back and be like, what a nice gal. No, but
that's literally verbatim what I said as well. I just wanted to be like, she was swell. No, that's not cheesy at all. That's
it's really important to me, and I think it's really, really important to me that while I'm here, that I help people feel seen and celebrated and heard, especially people that maybe have never felt that. You know, especially the celebrated part, celebrated for their authentic self. I think it's really important to me that people feel like they can be authentically themselves in front of me and not feel ashamed of any part of themselves. Like that's so fucking important to me. So important to me. And I think that's what I aim to do with the work that I do is create a space where people feel celebrated and affirmed and heard. I think everyone wants to feel heard and seen, you know? And so I think that would be what I want my legacy to be, like just remembered for that.
That's super beautiful.
Yeah, and I think as your friend, I can tell you you're already doing that for me.
In our hearts.
Yeah, that was so lovely. I really cannot thank you enough for being here. We are going to wrap up. Is there anything you'd like to promote, or where can people find you? Would you like to plug your social media?
Black Market Therapy is my therapy Instagram, and it has like my websites where I can be reached.
We really appreciate you being here. I've been Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly.
I'm Mitra Karimi-Taleghani.
Thanks so much. Please don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, and follow if you like us. Thank you so much. Goodbye.